silly love fables. We'll see through the illusions of love to find the treasure in being forever friends. Hello, good evening, guys. It's Sharla Kornegay coming live to you guys with another Forever Friends Academy episode. How are you guys doing? Happy Thursday. Happy to be on with you guys yet another Thursday again. Hopefully, I can get some of you guys on here with me to have another great, interesting conversation. Let me introduce myself just in case I have some new folks coming in here tonight, which, as always, I absolutely would love. My name is Sharla Kornegay, aka Sharla K. I'm an author, recording artist, creator of Interact Coaching and Forever Friends Academy. This is my show of the same name, Forever Friends Academy, where we talk about all relationship topics. And my aim is to hopefully provide, of course, first of all, an authentic and safe space for us to have some conversations about relationships. And hopefully you'll find, hear something that resonates with you. I mainly focus on presenting fundamental principles that you can apply all around to every relationship that you have, intimate relationships, marriages, from friendships to your familial relationships. So I firmly believe our relationships are too much at the center of everything we do here for it to be the area that many of us struggle with just because we don't put our focus and energy there and attention. So that's my aim in creating this podcast and creating the coaching memberships that I have, as well as my private clientele, is to help peel back the layers, as they say, peel back the onion, to kind of figure out what's blocking that person from loving to their fullest capacity and then extending that love to someone else. And so hopefully you'll hear something that you like tonight. And if you come across me, I come on every Thursday evenings and Sunday evenings at usually normatively 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you like anything, definitely do not hesitate to hit that like button, subscribe, and you will know when I'm on. You get the notification that I'm on, and you'll be able to see all of the live full videos are on my YouTube channel. So let's get into it tonight. And I see a friend who already is in the building. How are you? It's another one, Spark. Oh my goodness, I've missed you. I've had a couple that I really think you would have liked, and I would have loved to hear some of your feedback, but I have you on tonight, so I'm happy about that. Thank you, as always, for popping in with me. I appreciate you. We're going to get into it tonight, and I'm going to pop out the question for tonight. I'm trying to think. Well, I'm going to give at least I think it's fun. You guys will determine that for me, whether you think the question I'm popping out to you is fun or not. If it's not fun, at least I think it'll be interesting. All right, so this is a question that I heard on a show that I was watching, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna bring that to my participants and family that come on tonight. And so the question is, what are 3 words that your family or friends or both would describe you as? What 3 words would they use to describe you? What 3 words would your family or friends or both describe you and say to another person about you? So you can use either 3 words, or if you want to put it in like 3 phrases, anything like that. All right, so that's the interesting question. It's not the topic for tonight, but I just thought it was a great question, and I always, sometimes when I come on here, try to present questions to the people who are in their singleness and they are navigating, the dating scene, or just trying to cultivate relationships and see if people possibly would be potential, right? Future spouses. Sometimes you don't know exactly what questions to ask. And so I like to present some questions that I think are intriguing and interesting and would be great conversation starters. So that was one that I came across that I wanted to present to you guys. All right, so I'm sorry. And it's another one. Sparks asked me to repeat the question. So let me repeat it for you. The question to start the podcast tonight, not for the topic tonight, is basically what 3 words would your family use to describe you? What 3 words would your family and friends use to describe you to another person? That is, I guess maybe the icebreaker question for tonight. What 3 words would your family and friends use to describe you to another person? So that is the question. That's the question tonight, folks. I can't wait to hear your answers. Hey, DJ 007 online. I just asked a question. Feel free to answer it if you like. It's just the icebreaker question for tonight. We didn't get into the topic just as yet. But the question is, what 3 words or phrases, I guess, do you think your family would use to describe you to someone else? What 3 words or phrases would your family and friends use to describe you? To explain who you are to another person. So that is the icebreaker question for tonight. Tonight, the topic we're going to get into tonight is we're going to talk about how to be emotionally intelligent. And so I have another question for you guys on that, but that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, which I think is definitely an important conversation, especially around relationships, because I think, no matter what stage you're in, whether you are someone who is single and is dating, definitely you want to be emotionally intelligent, where it helps you to kind of have discernment and be able to, see people for who they really are, and not be blinded by your emotions, or be so, I don't want to say driven by your emotions. I will say you don't want your emotions to become a master of you, right? Because then you'll make decisions that aren't the best, or that are not as beneficial for you, right? And whether you are not, and you're now in the space of whether you're in a long-term relationship or you're married, then you definitely still need to be emotionally intelligent, right? Because you have to being in the same space with someone, right? You definitely want to be able to be emotionally intelligent so that you're not, again, being mastered by your emotions and then the arguments and all the things that can come with. My beautiful sister Chastity, that's my, I just made her my sister. I just made her my sister. But I just absolutely met her on Clubhouse way, way, way long ago. And we just connected and hit it off. And I'm so proud of everything you're doing, Chastity. Congratulations. She just won a grant. I mean, she's just doing big things. So check her out and check her product out. She makes great, amazing olive oil. So check out her page, Chastity. Oh my goodness, I think I'm scared to pronounce your last name, Chastity, because I think I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Pritchett, I think. I'm so sorry, love, if I butchered that. But anyhow, I'm so always happy to see your graceful and beautiful presence in here. I just put out an icebreaker question, so feel free to answer that. I asked everyone in here that what 3 words would your family and friends use to describe you to another person? What 3 words would your family and friends use to describe you to another person? So that's what we've been talking about. We haven't gotten to tonight's topic yet, about emotional intelligence and how to be emotionally intelligent is the topic for tonight. But feel free to answer that icebreaker. I'm going to read. It's another one, Sparks' answer. He said, loyal, determined, and worthy. Okay. Very nice attributes, I might say. Loyal, determined, and worthy. Wow. Very nice. Very nice. Those are some nice characteristics. Oh, wow. Well, while maybe some of you guys might be typing or thinking about it, I think, and I couldn't really put it just in words, I think that's going to be a challenge, that I'm going to challenge myself to do it. But when I thought of it, it came in like phrases. So the first one would be
God-fearing wisdom. Because my family always says that, my just ability to process things, but it comes with a godly wisdom based on the way that I fear God. So I've heard that many times where I talk about things and I look at things from different perspectives. And so that was the first phrase that came to my mind was God fearing wisdom. And the second one that came to me, and I don't really know how to put this in, like I said, I had to put in a phrase because I'm trying to think of a word that can be all encompassing to what I'm thinking about. So I'll just put the phrase that I have. I just thought of beautiful inside and out. That's the best I can come up with. Because I couldn't think of one word. I wanted to say just beautiful, but I think it's more so the beauty resonates from the inside out. So I need to think of one word that can kind of I guess put all of that together. But that's the second phrase that I thought of. And the third one I thought of was either like persevering or resilient. But I guess in the way that I kind of process it or interpret it, if I could put it in one specific word, it would be faithful. And it's faithful because I think definitely my friends and family have seen me go through or even have heard of the things or the stories that I've been through in life that hasn't deterred like my faith. It hasn't, I'm not broken from it. And so that's why I think faithful would be, I guess, a word that encompasses all of that. So yeah, so those would be my three things. I would think God fearing wisdom, beautiful inside and out, and just faithful because the challenges of life, the challenges of life. It's like things that you go through where maybe other people would feel like, okay, at this point, she should be buckling, you know? And then I'm just like, nope, because I really do believe God's going to get me out on the other end. I'm going to get through it, and just be better from it. So those would be my three phrases. Hey, once in a lifetime, my beautiful cousin. Feel free. I haven't gotten to tonight's complete topic yet. I just did icebreaker at the tippity top of the show, which is what are three words that your family and friends would use to describe you? Feel free. um, Feel free to answer that if you want to. You don't have to. But we're going to be talking about emotional intelligence tonight. So I'm going to throw out the quote to you guys, and then I'm going to ask you the question for the actual topic for tonight. And I'm trying to think whether I should put out the quote first or ask you the question, because I feel like sometimes I have these quotes, and I think that once I put the quote out, it's going to change the way you answer the question. So you know what? I'm going to I'm going to put the question out first tonight, and then I'll give you my quote. So my question for you tonight is kind of along the same lines of the icebreaker question, which is if someone came to you and sought out advice from you of how to be emotionally intelligent, what if you could pick like top three characteristics or attributes that you firmly believe helps with someone's capacity or ability to have high emotional IQ or EQ, as they say, emotional relatability, however you want to say it. That's the question for tonight. What would you tell them? It doesn't have to be three. Maybe you just have one top thing that you can tell them to help them and give them advice. And I'm sure, well, I don't want to put words in any of you guys' mouth, but definitely I have been there, right? Where if you don't have a grip on your emotions, right? Oh my goodness. The thing, not only your own like emotional process and the ride it can take you on, it's not a good feeling when you feel like you are not in control of your emotions or you can't master them, and that they just have a hold of you. And I think, definitely in spaces where you're talking about, definitely if you're in like a marriage or just familial relationships, all those kind of intimate spaces, and even right close friendships where you are so connected to the person or feel close to them that it's very easy for you to become emotionally compromised when you are, either hashing out situations or, dealing with high emotions. So I think this conversation is really important. So definitely, I want to hear what your thoughts are, because I'm sure anyone, whether they catch the replay or they're listening now, maybe it could afford some good advice for them of how they can, begin the process, of being able to, not have their emotions master them or become compromised by their emotions, but be able to, right, get a hold of it and use it for their benefit, even. So that's the question for tonight. Like I said, similar to my little icebreaker, if you want to use 3 qualities or 3 attributes, but it doesn't have to be 3. You can just give me one that you think is like top tier that possibly helped you, or maybe something that you're using now, that you recently would put in your toolkit, emotional toolkit. Definitely let me know what your thoughts are on that. So let me repeat the question again for tonight, because our topic is how to be emotionally intelligent. If someone comes to you and asks you, how do I do it? I'm really struggling right now with my emotions. I feel like, when I become, emotionally compromised, whether that's anxiety, whether that's anger, whether it's complete, like, being engulfed and fixated with someone. And they come to you and they say, what advice can you give me to, what are some characteristics, qualities, or attributes that you have learned, or maybe you have applied that allow you, or that has afforded you to become a very emotionally intelligent person, while navigating all of your relational, right, spaces, from your family to coworkers to friendships, etc. What are you going to tell them? What's your top tier thing? Yeah. So I'm going to wait a little bit and see if I get some answers from you guys. And then I'm going to give you the quote. Then I'm going to give you the quote that I have for tonight. I didn't want to give you the quote. And then you think about it and go, So let's see what you guys have. And of course, I know, thank you for in advance for those of you who might be taking out the time to type the answer, because I know that takes a while. While while I'm waiting for you guys to do that, I'll just recap our last podcast episode, which I really did enjoy. It was such a good conversation. Do I say that about every conversation I have with you guys? I don't know. Maybe am I biased? I don't know. Well, anywho, that's really what I think. Because I come on here with you and the people who come in, the people who take the time out to chat with me. You guys, brilliant brains, brilliant people who come on and give such great. I feel like you add value to the conversation. So, nonetheless. The conversation that we talked about was I played a video, and I think it was a dating scenario that I put out. I put out, 2 college students that were getting to know each other. They met each other freshman year, but then like sophomore year, they actually ended up in the same classroom, and that, of course, I guess one thing led to another, and they started hanging out a lot, and then interest sparked in both of them to see if possibly, their friendship could blossom into something more. And as we know, with today's day and age, when you meet someone, now it's not just, okay, wonder how they are with their family, wonder how they are around their friends, but then you literally have, right, your own space in social media. And now that becomes like a resume, a business card, a first impression, introduction, etc. And so in the scenario, I put that the gentleman who was interested and the young lady went to her, one of her social media pages, and as people, we tend to do, we start scrolling, and he scrolled through her videos and he found a video from like maybe a year and a half ago where she was having possibly, you know, a moment where she was venting out her emotions, and she was in the video explaining how frustrated she was with, waiting for her person to find her. And in the video that I showed, I gave an example. And in the video, basically, the girl was saying, I'm tired of my therapist. I'm tired of my family saying that I'm going about this wrong. And it's about what I want. And I'm looking at all my friends, they're getting married. And, when is it my turn, etc. And so basically, when he sees this video, it starts to make him actually kind of pump the brakes, because it gave for him two red flags. One, she felt comfortable with going on social media to kind of vent out her feelings, and for him, that's like a big no-no. And two, he felt that the wording, was very about herself, selfish, kind of like I want me, 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 me. And so he felt like that wasn't necessarily, I guess, phrasing and words that would be come from somebody who understands, right, of the true dynamic of a relationship, which is a lot of service and a lot less of me, right? And so anyway, I put on that night, I posed the question to the people who were on whose side did they agree with? Did they agree with the guy, or was he just being too serious for the young lady? She just felt like, okay, that's a year and a half ago, and you're getting to know me now in real time. So why would that even be a problem? Why would you use that as something to say, you're not going to pursue this relationship anymore? So that's the conversation we were having. And at the end, my angle on it was that I think definitely it, even if you're not single, right? I think just as all of us, as people, you do have to be aware of what you're communicating on social media, because now it does, right? It plays into our real lives, even if people, quote unquote, present things, that aren't real or reflective of their real life. I mean it in this way that, listen, you can go for a job, an employer can look at your social media pages, as well as people who consider you a prospect for them, and what you do have on there does present you in a certain way. So I do think, well, it would be wise, it would to have wisdom to see, and really think about what it is that you're putting out there. And I don't think it was, what's the word? Unjustifiable or not justifiable, not unjustifiable, not justifiable or not reasonable, for him to check it out, and for him to kind of use that and use it as another aspect to kind of see whether this is a person that he would want to grow and be with, especially when you have other people who might not, have such maybe like a selfish type of point of view about it. When you're going on social media wanting to express that you want to be in a relationship, hearing a lot of eyes, or it's about what I want, and I said, particularly in the video when she said, my therapist is telling me I'm going about it wrong, my parents are telling me I'm going about it wrong, and I just, she was like, I just, don't tell me I'm wrong. That's basically what she said in the video, and it's about what I want. So if I'm going into that gentleman's shoes and I'm listening to that, and I'm like, your therapist, you paid for the therapist, or at least it's on someone's insurance that's paying for it, and you go to that therapist, right, to give you a certain amount of expertise and feedback and help you kind of process out your emotions, your actions, and then, weigh it against what experiences you're having. Once you start to say that you don't want to hear it from them, and you don't want to hear from your parents, which are some of the closest people to you, then yeah, that would be a red flag for me, because these are some of the closest people to you. And so it definitely registers like this is a person who is kind of closed off to hearing constructive criticism and who doesn't really understand the process of relationships. So that's what we were talking about. So I was trying to give you guys time to see if you would get some answers for the question tonight. And my beautiful niece came on here. Hey, Rafi. So let me state the question again, just in case for those. And hey, Justin, for the new people that came in. The question that I asked is if someone came up to you and they are asking you, what are some characteristics or qualities or attributes that help someone to become emotionally intelligent, right? Emotionally intelligent. Emotionally intelligent means that you are able to assess, process your emotions to the point that they are not driving you to become either compromised or where your emotions are now, right, at the forefront to where it makes you make either abrupt or decisions that are not in your best interest or as optimal as you as they could be, I guess. All right, so that's a short version of kind of answering what it means to be emotionally intelligent. So that is the question that I put out tonight. What would be the attributes that you would tell them? Could be one, can be three that has helped you. And that's what we're talking about tonight. So while you guys are still thinking about it, I'm going to throw out the quote that I have along with that. And you guys let me know, as always, if you think that this quote is something that, one, is truthful, two, do you agree with or disagree? And number three, do you think if you do agree with it and if you do think it's truthful, that it is something that will help people grow in their relationships, or is something that you think it would be useful for you to keep, at the center of your mind state, in your relationship. So the quote is that goes like this, and I'm still reworking it because this is a quote that I came up with off the top of my head. So the quote goes like this: to be emotionally intelligent, you have to trust. To be emotionally intelligent, you have to trust. All right. That is the quote for tonight. So let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if you think, Sharla, where you come up with that from. That's all. That is, I don't want to say, I'm going to say BS. BS, or that's trash, or that's like bogus. However you feel about it, right? Let me know. Or, Sharla, you're making me think. What do you mean by that? Or, wow, I never thought of it like that. Let me know what your thoughts are when you first hear that, right? So to be emotionally intelligent, you have to trust, right? And in that quote, of course, when you hear it or in the way that I, stated it, is stating that if you lack trust, that it will block your capacity and your ability to be emotional intelligent. So in that quote, I'm answering the question that I posed to you guys. And that was one of the first things I thought of, is that in order for a person to be emotionally intelligent, one of the main things that they have to be is trusting, which I'm sure anybody listening to this right now, they're probably like, what? What are you talking about? Maybe you're not, I don't know. But from the conversations that I have with people, especially when we're talking about intimate relationship space, when people have felt like they put themselves out there and they were vulnerable and they were trusting and it wasn't reciprocated and they got hurt. And, so most of the times then a wall comes up, right, to protect themselves. And so they might be thinking like, what? No. No. I can be emotionally intelligent and not trust, you know. Until of course somebody proves, you know, that they've earned my trust and things like that. I'm sure there's many thoughts, or if someone hears the replay, that they'll say some statements like that. But the reason why I say that is because, and I say this all the time on my podcast, or whether it's with my personal private clients or in my group coaching, I say that trust is built upon truth. Trust is founded upon truth. So there's really no trusting until there is a truthful, fundamental principle that you're putting that trusting in, right? That's way beyond someone presenting something to you and earning your trust based on a perspective or an opinion that you have. I usually explain it like this, that when I started my friendship with my husband, Ben, when we were younger. Hey, HG Dream, thank you for joining. When we were younger, you know, I always say to young women when I'm talking to them, you know, where they'll say, you know, I'm going to, you know, don't listen to a man's words, listen to his actions, which I agree with, right? Because men do speak with their actions a lot. And what I'll tell them is that, you know, once you get the hang of actually sticking to that, right? Because there's one thing to say it and then another thing to actually do that in real time when you're in the relationship, right? And all these emotions are high, for you to actually stick to that. But I said one of the things that I really admired about my husband is that he went beyond, and I did see that his words and his actions matched, right? So what he said, he did. But what I really appreciated was that he went beyond that, and now his actions were, I wasn't even looking so much for his actions to line up with what he said. I was looking for his actions to line up with what God said or what the truth is, right? And that's more powerful, because people can do things, and they can do things for a while, and say certain things and do actions after it where you're thinking, okay, this is a consistent person, you know, or they can listen to you and you can lay out all of your standards, all of your stipulations, all of your expectations, and they literally will do it, right, for a while. And then not, you know, and then not. But it's different when a person is lining up their actions and their words with the truth of God. That's deeper than them trying to fulfill something for me based on my opinion, you know, or my wants, you know, or what I think my needs are. And so that's why, you know, I put out the quote that I put out tonight. And hey, beautiful Khadijah, how are you, love? Long time no see. Always happy to see your presence in here. The quote that I put out tonight was that you cannot, right, be emotionally intelligent without trusting, right? You cannot be emotionally intelligent without trusting. And so, again, trust is founded upon truth. It's not really only based on your feeling or your emotion or your perspective. Trust, when you trust, you don't want to just frivolously, right, throw that out there. The trust has to be grounded in something that you know is fundamentally true, right? And so going back to what I was talking about with when I was developing my friendship with my husband, when I saw that he was, you know, more concerned about how his words lined up with the principles of God, or how his word lined up with the truth, that gave me so much, like, one, it was admirable. Two, I honored that about him, but it also allowed me to understand and have a certain amount of like rest and trust in the relationship, because it wasn't him trying to do it, right, to, you know, fulfill something inside of me, you know, or based on what I expected of him, or shared with him what I wanted him to do. Because, listen, none of us are perfect, right? And so, if it's based on me and my actions in the relationship that he is, earnestly trying to align his words and his actions, then oh gosh, what happens when I take a wrong turn, or what happens when I have a down season, then that what he's off the hook in being able to keep up with his moral ethics and the things that he has, the truth that he's aligned with. And so, because he was more concerned, and more adamant about aligning, with the principles of God, then it was like, okay, great, because I'm sure there's going to be probably plenty of seasons where I'm not. Possibly, you know what I mean? I won't put myself out there, but no, I'm not, everybody's human, right? So we're not going to always, even though I would hope and oftentimes we wish to always be in good space and time, right? So in moments when I'm not, then I know if he's consistently aligning, right, with the truth and what is allowing him to demonstrate and be the person who he is because he's constantly, right, going back to those fundamental truths. And those are the things that are driving him and fueling him to live out, right, a life that he can feel like is respectable, is honorable, onto God. So that's the first thing. In why I say that if that lack of trust will block your ability and your capacity to be emotionally intelligent, because one, if you know that trust is actually grounded on truth, right, and not your opinions, not just perspectives that you've gained due to environmental conditioning and things that you have heard from others, right, but actual truth that you can look out in other spaces and areas of life and it still rings true, then okay, yeah, that's something I can ground myself in. And then secondly, when we're talking about trusting is a process of acceptance and letting go. Acceptance and letting go, right? When you trust, you have to be humble enough and to be able to see what's really going on right in front of you. One of the things that blocks emotional intelligence and your ability to be emotionally intelligent is if our emotions blind, right? Blind us or blur what's really going on in real time in the relationship, because our emotions might want something else to happen in the relationship. Like say if there's a man and woman who's in a relationship, the woman wants the man to marry her, but everything that he's doing is saying the opposite of that, right? So the want will be such an extreme desire maybe for her, and the emotions will override what's really going on in real time in you know what I mean, in the relationship. So there is a process that she skipped, right? The first process is acceptance of what's really going on in the relationship right now. Like, okay, I need to really take a breather. I need to pause, and I really need to accept what's going on right now. And I think it's not easy, depending on what process we're in and what we're going through, to accept the state or the condition that we're currently in. Because sometimes when us as humans do that, you feel like it's going to make you go down like a rabbit hole, where either you're going to feel angry about the state you're in, or you're going to feel sad or depressed or things like that. But there's no way to really transform without letting the truth in, right? Going back to the first part of it, that trust, there's no trusting that happens without it being founded and grounded in truth. And so once we hold on to whatever, right, the desire that we have and the emotions that come along with it, and we refuse to let those things go, then there's no way, right, for the truth to come in and for us to actually transform and grow out of it if it's something bad that we're in. And sometimes it could be on the opposite end where you have people who are in a great relationship and you have a partner who is, putting in the work and making effort and doing a lot of, a lot of things that are really good in the relationship. But, maybe that's not being appreciated, and maybe that's not being honored. And it's going to go into my third tip that I would give someone if they came up to me and ask me for advice about how they can become emotionally intelligent, is to make sure that you have a really good understanding and you can differentiate your wants from your needs. Being able to differentiate your wants from your needs will help you to become more emotionally apt or emotionally intelligent. And that goes along with the last example that I gave you, where if you're in a relationship and you have a partner who is, like I said, showing up, demonstrating, doing things, but sometimes, within the relationship where the needs are being met, the other spouse or partner in the relationship can have these wants that they have, and they can feel like, okay, these wants, are not being met, and those wants can come on so strong that literally that person can start to feel like it's a need when it's really not, right? And so I'll give you an example. I saw a podcast recently, and I think the podcast name is Valuetainment. I hope I'm not saying that wrong, because I always say I'm so bad in being able to reference the videos that I watch to give it back to you guys. But I believe that's what the podcast name is. And they had a panel, and it looked like they were on a tour, and they were talking about relationships. But one of the men on the panel, he was divorced, and he had gotten young. He was married very young. I think what he said on the podcast was like he was married at like maybe 17. No, I'm sorry, not 17, guys. Sorry, he would have been too young, 19. And he was in the military, so a lot of his life happened fast. He got married real young, and he said that the relationship unfortunately ended really, really fast. There was a lot of maturing that was needed to happen on both ends, and then he is currently married. He got married a second time, and he said one of the things that he really honors about his wife and that he admires and what he felt gave them a really good advantage and good grounding to have a successful marriage is that he said his wife just never really cared about a wedding. He said she just never really, really valued it. And the thing that really resonated with me is that he said what she said to him was that the wedding is not, I don't really necessarily need to have that. I would rather invest in our marriage. And I was just like, wow, like, wow, and I think, that's the truth, right? Because the marriage is not in our culture, especially in America. A lot of times people think marriage is the finish line, right? And they focus a lot on the wedding and the optics of it and how it's going to be and things like that. But the marriage, there is no wedding celebration without the marriage, right? That is the main thing. And so when he said and highlighted that his wife said that, there were the other people on the panel was like, no wonder you're successfully married, because she was able to differentiate the want from the need, right? And a lot of times, in our culture, especially in American culture, where a lot of investment of energy and time is put into that, and you'll see people spend like, oh my gosh, $50,000, $100,000. I think I was watching. Sometimes I'll watch Dave Ramsey. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of him. He's great. But I'll listen to his show. I like listening to the people, and the financial advice that he gives, and the situations and the people that he helps. He helps when they call in. And I remember one of the callers was saying that they had recently got married and literally they had about $110,000 of credit debt, just all from the preparation of their wedding. And now they're married with this $110,000 of debt just from their wedding that they put on credit, by the way, right? Along with whatever other debt that they had. And after she got married, it was like, it hit her like, big time that, oh my goodness, we are literally, in this debt. And I was just going because I wanted to create this vision that I had, but now she's like, I'm waking up and I want us to be able to be in the best financial position and not be stressed about money and things like that for our marriage, because that's most important, So those are two different scenarios where the other man is expressing that his wife is saying, my wife, she didn't really care so much about a wedding. She said, I'd rather us invest it and invest where it belongs in our marriage. And you have another one, on another podcast where the caller is calling and saying, I'm $110,000 in debt from the wedding that we just had, right? There, in both of those scenarios, you see, right? Those are two examples where you can see that one person appropriated it correctly, right? They were able to differentiate what the want and what the need was, whereas the other person wasn't. And I think that is definitely something that comes up a lot. It comes up a lot whether you're single and you're desiring to be in a relationship, or and maybe you're in a relationship and you're desiring marriage. However, it comes up in that space. Definitely, if you are not properly differentiating a want from a need, then that desire can become so strong that the needs that are being met in the relationship can either be overlooked and not honored and not affirmed, or nurtured and nourished, so that the relationship continues to grow healthy in the proper way. Or it will be on the other end, right, where that want and that desire can fuel you so much that if you're in something that's not good for you, right, that is actually toxic and it's not, purposeful, and it's not feeding you in the right way, that want again will start to distort in a person's mind and in their emotions, and they'll feel like, no, but I need this person, without even really seeing it holistically. What value this person is offering to me in my life? Is this person capable of even fulfilling this position as a husband, as a wife, etc.? It's just the want is so strong that it now distorts it, So I think definitely that's another really, really, really good tool, to kind of resourceful way of processing your emotions, and a skill that you can practice doing, right? Because we learn it very young. My kids, I have young little ones who are in elementary school, and that's something that they, between kindergarten all the way up to, second, third grade, that you're learning that lesson in social studies, right? You're learning handle the needs first, before the wants, buy the water, buy the vegetables, buy the things that your body needs, before you go buy a toy or candy. On a simple base level, they're teaching children that, just to kind of help, right? Support the learning process until they can learn it in a more in-depth way. But that's something that we're learning, we learn early on. And unfortunately, sometimes we forget it, whether we're dealing with someone else. And sometimes this is, as I always say, in any relationship dynamic, it always is going to go back to you, right? In your relationship with yourself, and I believe your relationship with your creator. And I think that can easily happen, right, with your relationship with God, and sometimes how you're assessing your life. Like, how many times do you see people put weight on areas in life that really are not as important as, as they perceive it to be. When you do whatever it is, whether you invest your time and your energy to acquire it, whether it's finances or status or whatever the area may be, and you look at the exchange, and for the amount of time and energy that you put in it, it might not render you as much meaningfulness, as much fulfillment. So I think it's all all around. It'll help you kind of look at your life in a holistic way, and keep you grounded, so that maybe when you're looking at your life, you're not judging or comparing where you are, looking at what others have, especially if they're more superficial things that don't necessarily render, in totality, the things that are the most precious and treasured things in life that, you. The best way I can say is it impacts you in a great way here, but then it also, right, beyond it leaves a legacy that continues to serve even the people who come after you. So let me bring it all the way full circle, because I've kind of put out the first three things, but I want to make sure I made it very clear for you guys, the three things that I was talking about, and the advice that I would give someone. So first things first is trust. For you to be able to have high EQ, emotional intelligence, is that you have to be a trusting individual. You do. You have to be a trusting individual. And again, I'm saying this with the context of understanding where true trust comes from. Trust is not something that you are just basing on a fleeting emotion. It is not something that you are basing on something that you feel like is just your opinion or your perspective. Trust comes after it has been rooted and grounded in something that is truth. And I don't mean like, where someone might be watching this and be like, well, everybody has a different truth. That's that person's truth and this is my truth. No, I mean like fundamental across the board truth, right? The best way I can say is from God's perspective, God's principles, God's truth. And one way you can test the waters, because I always love saying this, and I always say that God's word, his truth, is not afraid to be tested in any kind of waters, right? It's not afraid to be challenged by a counter argument. The truth will always stand, right? It reminds me of I'm thinking of the biblical story in the Bible of, Moses, and when he's going back and forth to Pharaoh to ask, to let his people go and things like that. There is one scenario where he has his, rod or staff, whatever you want to call it, and he puts it, well, not him, but and I'm forgetting the name of the person who's with him, but nonetheless, he throws his staff that God gives him down, and Pharaoh calls his, I don't know what you want to call them, sorcerers or like the people that he has on his staff, and they have that, and literally they all throw their staff down, and their staff, once they throw it down, turns into snakes, right? And literally Moses's, staff literally swallows up the other the other snakes that that the other people on Pharaoh's staff, when they threw it down, it also turned to snakes, but his snake ate their snake. And that's what it kind of reminds me of when you are speaking truth, not just from your own opinion or your perspective, but it's a truth that is resounding. It's a truth that you can put it in other areas of life and it still rings true, right? And you might meet people who still will kind of rebel and resist against it, but you know the potency of the truth is like, oh man, no. But this really, even though I want to resist this it does make complete, right, all around sound sense, And another example that I can give you, because you might listen to this and you might be like, well, Charlotte, I don't know if I'm in a space where I can kind of see, or understand, that type of truth that's like, godly principles that no matter where you put it in life, it stands and holds its truth. Another example that I like to give people is in therapy and in coaching. You'll see this where we'll use this thing called the wheel of life, and it'll have, different areas of life like your finances, your friendships, relationships, family, recreation, things like that, all the different areas in life, that we navigate and deal with, and might have your health, things like that. And, I'll oftentimes I'll, you know, let someone see that wheel and I'll say, okay, here are all the things, that we as people kind of navigate. What do you think that across the board that someone should focus on, right? That they should focus their energy first. They should give their undivided attention to this area, because if this area breaks down, it's going to affect the rest of the areas, right? And I want you to think of this. I'll say this to them across the board, well, between genders, male, female, other countries, wherever you go, that you feel like that would, stand true, and, I'll get different answers from different people. And then I'll say, your health, right? Your health, your body, because it is the only, right, system in this lifetime, right, that we know of, that God has given you. It literally holds and harnesses your spirit. It is the home of your spirit. And so, and I'll say it is literally the medium that God gives you to reflect his light and love in this world, right? Is through that. And so because of that, we want to honor it. Because of that, we want to be prudent about what we put in it, and how active, we continue to allow our physical bodies to be, because when that breaks down, right, you can have all the money in the world, you can have your family, you can have your friends, you can have all of the things, and the people around you, but it's definitely going to make you experience life differently. It's definitely going to make you experience life differently. I can just imagine if, don't get me wrong, right? Things happen in life, and there's certain things that are just really unexplainable to us. There's people who are in the best of health, at least perceived by us to be, and sometimes they fall sick, right? We don't know. Those are things that are beyond our understanding, and sometimes it happens for reasons that are beyond what we know, right? But outside of that, and even with that, you're not going to say, oh, just because those things happen in life, that I'm not going to pour in this vehicle, this body that God has given me, so that I can be able to experience life in the most optimal way, because I think if you put someone who has a whole bunch of money, even to the point of a person being like a billionaire, but their body is breaking down, or they have something, illness or sickness that makes them either be in excruciating pain or experience physical hurt, right, or pain, and you ask them to, if they would, if they could switch having the money versus being able to live life in a body that's healthy and whole. I don't know if a person would just say, okay, I'll just stay here in this agony process and keep this money. I think that's when you start really appreciating being able to get up in the morning and stretch and move your arms and move your legs without being in pain or hurting. So that's just another example, right? And I think you can go across the board and, you know, to have that conversation with a person, and they might say, well, no, I still disagree. It's money, or it's something else. It's recreation. And you have the right to disagree, but at the same time, like, okay, if your body's breaking down, how much are you enjoying that money? If your body's breaking down, how much are you enjoying that recreation? That it's that saying where if you want to help somebody, you have to first, help yourself. Or if you want to save somebody, you have to save yourself first to be able to help that person. It's the same thing, right? You have to, as we all have heard people talk about it, self-care and self-love and putting into yourself, and how those things are selfish acts, and it's okay to be selfish, but it's really not. It's the complete opposite of selfish. When you pour into yourself and when you take care of yourself, and you have the understanding that this is the only body, this is the only medium that I have, right, to fulfill my purpose here, for me to reflect God's light and love. It's what God has given me, right, to be able to do all the things I have here. So that's actually more of a selfless act than a selfish one, because it is aligning with the truth. The truth is that there's no way, right, that you can do it in the most optimal way, I will say, without breaking yourself down or without utter exhaustion, or running on fumes, being able to really properly impact and efficiently do the things that you have to do here without doing the selfless act of pouring into yourself, because that's you thinking about the collective of people that you have to serve, and understanding, more importantly, before you think of them, thinking about the fundamental truth that you have to pour into yourself first, and that you have to connect, take a moment to disconnect from the world and connect to God, your source, to get the energy that you need to then go and do what you need to do. So that's not selfish at all, actually. That's more of a person really thinking of the collective, and understanding earnestly, if they are aligning with that truth, that's one of the best ways to do it, is that you want to pour into yourself so that the people around you get the overflow, not be around people who are takers, and you're like on E and still trying to run on fumes to get done what you need to get done. So that is another example that you can think of when you're thinking like, okay, Sharla, what do you mean? Trust is founded on truth, and that's why we need to be trusting to be emotionally intelligent. That's what I mean. So that's the first part. So the advice that I would give somebody, again, is that if you want to be emotionally intelligent, you first have to be able to trust. And trust is founded in truth, not your emotions, not your opinion, but the truth that is resounding, that comes from the truth of God, from his principles that you can see, and you can put out that argument anywhere and it will still, right? The truth will still resonate and echo louder than maybe the other perspectives that come its way. And I think that's important because, in order to trust other people, or trust the process you're in, it means that you've gone through a process where you can, be able to kind of trust your choices, right? And you can trust your choice because, again, you can go back to that, right? Go lean into the truth, right? So whether that means you going to God and having a conversation so that God can appropriate your emotions, so that you can see things for what they truthfully are in a situation, or see what's going on in a situation and then align that truth to the fundamental and the truthful principles of God and see how it lines up, right? That's what you really want to do. Not you have to kind of go past that, So I wrote a book called Seven Stages of Love and Relationships. And in the book, I state that, 100%, 100% of relationships that fail are really because of people's misunderstanding of love. And when they misunderstand love, the crazy part about it is that we'll go through, certain experiences, and literally what we'll do as people is that we'll filter, love through our experiences, and then those experiences then define what love is for us. When it should be the complete opposite, right? It should be us filtering our experiences through, right, the truth and the light of love, so that those experiences don't distort or taint our view of what love is. So in that same sense, when you're a person who has high emotional EQ and is emotionally intelligent, that's the process that you're going through. Right? That's the process you're going through. You're able to kind of assess and say, okay, this is my emotions, this is what I feel over here. This is what is going on in real time, in the situation that I'm in or what I'm thinking. And then, okay, these are, the principles of God, and this is the truth. And see how those things line up, right? And at the end of the day, we want to surrender to the truth, and then the truth will, right, appropriate things for us. And then we can kind of move from there. And that kind of goes into the second thing that I would tell someone if they came up to me to ask me, what advice would I give them, to become more emotionally intelligent, is that the trusting piece also goes along with the fact that when you trust, it is a process of accepting and letting go. I have something that I normatively tell my clients when I'm coaching them, that they're feeling like maybe their emotions are becoming a master over them, and there's something that they're holding on to, and it's blocking their ability to just be who they're supposed to be, whether that's offering their love to their fullest capacity, or maybe it's just, letting go of insecurity and going out boldly and being unapologetically who they are. I always have an analogy that I give them that they can use to kind of process their emotions, to give them a visual, right? A visual aspect of the process of accepting and letting go that trust is. So I'll always tell them, just imagine you're on the highway. You're on the highway, and on the highway, there are many different cars that come, right? There are the Maseratis, the fast cars that go by really, really, really fast, and let's imagine and liken those cars to the high moments in life, right? Maybe they're the moments that render you the most happiness, and they just seem like they go by so fast, right? It's like you get up really high, like when you eat candy, and then you crash down, kind of, it's like, I wish you would have stayed a little longer. I really love this feeling. I wish I could have helped, hold on to this feeling forever. But it goes by so fast. And then there are other experiences, right? The emotions that we have in life. And you can liken it to maybe if you have had a car where you bought your first car and you didn't have maybe a whole bunch of money, but you bought it, and it was like a little putt-putt car that at a moment it'll break down. Or maybe you had a friend that had a car like that, and you're like, man, this car, I'm glad it's taking us wherever we're going, but it really feels like it could break down at any moment, right? And so it's just taking putt, putt, putt. It's taking so long to cross that highway, right? So that could be the emotions that we experience that are like anxiety, depression, sadness, anger, whatever it is, especially the ones that we deem, right, to be bad emotions, right? And what the emotion will do is just imagine, like, you see the car, and in the car in the driver's side, right, are those emotions, is anger, is sadness, is depression, etc. What that emotion wants you to do is stick out your hand to hitchhike and go in the car with it, and drive off into the sunset where you be driving down off a cliff, because the emotions are transient. They're supposed to pass like cars, right? If anything, further than just passing, it would be like, you can liken it to a mail carrier, that delivers a message and then gets back in the car and then moves on, right? You can use the emotion to kind of be an indicator that something is going on in some area of your life, right? It's not the problem, but it will at least be an indicator that, okay, pay attention to this, let God's light and love, give undivided attention to this area so that we can then, right, heal or recover or get a, have some room to get a remedy. So that is a physical or a visual kind of concept that you can use to understand the process of accepting and letting go. And that's what trusting is, right? Like, again, you can be in a situation where you just refuse to accept that this is what's going on. And the more you refuse to accept that, right, and be blinded by your emotion that is most likely attached to some kind of desire, then it's going to be very hard for you to see your way out, see your way out of the relationship, see your way out of the situation that is not serving you, because that desire has become king or queen in your life. It has become the master, and you refuse to accept to see something for what it is, and then it becomes very hard to let it go, right? The emotion it can only hold on to you if you hold on to it. That's why where you get words like stronghold, it has a strong hold on you. That's because you're both holding each other, right? But it can only hold on to you if you refuse to let it go. And that's why trusting is so important, because trusting is the process of acceptance and letting go. Acceptance and letting go. Earlier on, I asked the question to some of the earlier participants, like, what would be 3 words that your family and friends would describe about you to someone else, and my third one was faithful, that I'm a faithful person. And again, I said that because when situations and circumstances and challenges came to me in life, my faith would not make me waver, and that no matter what emotion it stirred up inside or it triggered inside of me, it couldn't break me, because the faith was too strong. Like, the faith was there, and I knew, and my faith was strong in the truth that I know that the God that I serve is going to bring me through anything, is going to bring me through this, and I'm going to become greater out of it, or if it was both me and my husband experience it, we're going to become greater throughout this. Did I feel the turbulence, or did I see the storm swirling? Yes, most definitely. Absolutely. But holding on to and standing firm into the truth that no matter how micro or macro the situation is, or how micro or macro the feeling, right, the sensation or the intensity of the emotion is, it's all transient. Like everything, right? Everything here is transient, right? That's another truth, like, I'm trying to give you guys examples so that it's tangible for you in what I'm explaining and what I'm saying, right? That's another fundamental truth, that no matter what it is, whether it's a beautiful life you've lived, experienced with a legacy of love and warmth and just constant elevation, however, it's still transient. We are all going to, right, leave this earthly form, right? Our body is going to disintegrate and go on to, another state, another form. Now, our spirit won't, right? But our body will. So we know that pretty much everything we experience here is going to be transient. So if that's the case, then you can be able to let it go. You can be able to be like, okay, you can be able to stand in accepting what's right in front of you, knowing that that thing that's right in front of you does not have the power to consume you. the very fact that you can look at it and accept it and know that once I accept what's going on from a truthful perspective, not my opinion, not, the opinion or perspectives, of others, where when we accept, we don't want to accept and block the truth of God out, because then that becomes a problem, right? Because then again, you would be trusting, but it wouldn't be grounded in truth. So then that can be very beguiling and very misleading, because it's not going to have much weight. If you put your trust in your opinion, or you put your trust in your emotions, because those things are fleeting and because they really don't have the weight that you need, right? You need an anchor. You need a proper anchor. Your boat is going to sail away with the waves that life's challenges bring if it's not anchored in the truth, right? So we always got to go back to that first advice and tip that I gave, which is that trust is grounded in truth first before you extend that trust in either trusting the process that you go through to trust your own choices and your decisions, and then to extend it to someone else, right? So you want it to be anchored in the fundamental truths and principles of God, because then you know that the anchor is not going to waver, right? And no matter how tumultuous the storms are, your boat's going to still stay anchored, right? So you want that. And when you have that, then you don't have to be anxious. You don't have to be fearful about looking something of whatever state or condition you're in, or whatever circumstance you're in. You'll be able to have the faith and the courage to look at it, see it for what it is, and understand that you do have a spirit, and you do have co-creative empowerment that will be empowered by God for you to change your circumstance, right? And be able to change what you're going through, and then you don't have to be scared of maybe all the emotions, because clearly, right? And I know, because I'm a coach and I coach people, so I know that when you do get to a place where you're like, okay, I'm gonna fully accept, or my current state, or things that I'm going through, that it's going to come with a barrage of emotions. It's going to come with a barrage of emotions, but it's okay, because right, that you've already put this process, in really God's hands, right? And that you have that anchor. So the emotions, you literally can kind of like make it, what's the word? Kind of go through you, and you'll be able to have the wherewithal or the fortitude, to actually now take those emotions and use them as tools to kind of see things more clearly, and see things from a more truthful perspective than the things that might have been blinding you. The emotions don't blind you anymore. Once you do that, you become now the master of your emotions, and then they become tools and resources, because that's really what our emotions are. It literally is a blessing to get up in the morning and literally go through from feeling happy to like angry to frustrated to I know. And you're probably like, Charlotte, what are you talking about? Because I don't like feeling that in the moment. And I'm not saying that you be oh my gosh, that you be all up in the clouds, and thinking, yeah, I'm happy to be angry right now. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that after, right, you're in the in the thick of the anger, in the thick of whatever the sadness and things that you feel, you remind yourself of how many emotions you experienced today. Today you might have laughed. Hopefully I made you laugh a little bit just a minute ago. But anyway, today you might have laughed. Today you might have been pissed off. Today you might have saw a story that made you sad. All of these emotions you felt in one day, The great part about it, it means that you're not numb. You're still alive. You can still feel, which is great. You know what I mean? Which is great. I always say to my clients, just imagine, because this, honestly, this is what I really truly believe. Just imagine that your spirit took a field trip to Earth. That's what it did, in your spiritual form never dies. it's an eternal state, you know. And so the gratitude that we have for our process here down in earth is that the things that we experience here are transient, bottom line, right? Period. So whatever the emotion is, it's like a field trip for my spirit. It's like, oh wow, oh my goodness, I could feel this and this and this and this and this. It's not just this eternal state of sadness. It's not this eternal state of anger. It's not this eternal state of, right? I get to feel it all. Wow. And when I get to feel it, oh my goodness, I can actually kind of bounce it back to my spirit, and it's like kind of like almost like nothing. Once I filter it through the power, the eternal state, and the power of my spirit, right? That's backed, you know, and fueled by the Spirit of God. And it's like, oh wow, it's like it becomes more of an adventure, right? You know, it becomes more of an adventure, and that's really what your faith is, right? It becomes adventurous. Now you experiencing these different emotions becomes adventurous, and you're able to, you know, once you realize the truth that you're a master over it and that you can, right? And have conversations like this of what that entails, right? How can you do it, you know, and articulate it in a kind of precise way of, okay, yeah, this is a part of the process. This is a way that you can do it, right? So we talked about trust being grounded in truth. Numero uno, to be able to be emotionally intelligent, you have to trust. You have to be trusting, right? And that means you have to have the first and foremost step, which is that the trust has to be grounded in truth. It has to be anchored, right? And then the second part is remember that your emotions are transient, all right? And that the process of trusting is that you have to be able to accept and let go. Accept and let go, you know, even with the good things, accept and let go, right? Because if you're in a relationship with somebody, just imagine this, you know, you're in a great relationship and everything's great. You're not going to want to be up under each other 24/7. Like even in the goodness of that, right? You need distance, you know, you need distance to, as they say, it makes the heart grow fonder. It makes you experience the absence of that person's presence to want then, you know, their presence to come back, right? So even in the good things, you still want to be able to accept and let go. And I think that's also important, to be able to accept and let go so you can experience the beauty of that person's presence in a different way, right? Because we can easily take it for granted. We can easily, you know, dishonor it by making it familiar and not realizing that, no, that person, you also, even if you've been with them for umpteenth years, understand that, you know, with each breath that they have, with each new day, you can discover something new about them. Don't just judge like, oh, I know my mate, I know this about them. It's like, what? How dare you? You're not God. How many stages will they go through in life that will change? And sometimes, again, our emotions will blind us because we'll make a judgment about them. And then, unfortunately, we'll miss those beautiful transformations that God brings them through, you know, and we can't see it because we've already put, you know, our own perspective, our own opinion, our own judgment on it. All right. So yeah, so you want to be able to accept, trust. The process of trusting is to be able to accept and let go. And the third one was differentiating your wants from your needs. I cannot tell you how important that is. It's so important. It is so, so important. Differentiating your wants from your needs. And because I can't tell you how many people and how many couples I hear from, and when they're coming to me and they're presenting to me their issues, a lot of the issues that they have are around the fact that they are not regarding with high gratitude that the needs in the relationship are actually being met. And then the wants take the place of the needs. And so it's all out of order, right? So the relationship is all out of order. And so it's very hard, right, to even be able to, let's say, build to what they want, because the gratitude has already been ripped out of the relationship for just the daily needs and the daily things that are actually being done in the relationship and being met. And we've put our eyes and put our our undivided attention into areas that are like wants that are not even going to provide the impact or the meaningfulness in the relationship, and so a part of it is directing them to invest the energy into, and doubling down on those needs, and then we can build from there. I'm not saying that you don't be a person who has wants. I'm not saying that, in my book I said if you honor with gratitude and meet the needs, the wants kind of get, met. The breakdown in the couples that I have coached is, like I said, is really the honor is not even, the gratitude is not even there for the needs that are being met, and they just want to focus on the wants. So we can't build because the foundation, there's cement there to build the house, but they're not either using it or they're not acknowledging it, and they just want to talk about the windows and the French doors, So it's just it's hard to build the picture that they want without, right, again, kind of going back to the truth of the fundamental principles and focusing on those things, because you automatically come out of alignment with the truth. It's hard to see clear if you come out of alignment with the truth. And so we got to get back to, getting in alignment with the truth, and then we can, decorate the house, and we can add all of these other things. But if we add all those things, oh man, it's like, have you ever seen Willy Wonka and the and the chocolate factory, where the boy, and he's like, just greed is his thing, you could tell that's his vice, and he just stuffing his mouth, just a rotten kid. And that's because his, the parent in the movie would just give him whatever he want, and was completely disregarding what he needed, which was to learn some principles about life, and what greed does to someone, and what character deficits it creates in someone's character, right? So that's a simple example that also you can kind of use or think about to kind of bring home what I'm talking about tonight, So that's what I mean when I say, the people in the relationships are focusing on the wants and not necessarily the needs. All right, so that would be my three, that would be my three probably top things, that I would tell somebody who is seeking to be more, emotionally intelligent and have more aptitude in that way. And I know I'm sure people who, are either listening to replay or maybe on with me now, I'm sure empathy probably came up as one of your, choices or things that you might tell someone. And I think the things that I've laid out kind of set the, I guess, the foreground or the, the foundation to be able to be empathetic with somebody. Because to be empathetic, you have to get out of your selfish angle and not look at it from one point of view, but look at it holistically, right? Be able to go in their shoes, be able to look at, what they're going through in the process, and look at it, from a collective way rather than just one way. But I think all of the things that I just talked about sets up, a person to be able to have the ability to have empathy with someone. So, oh my goodness, there were so many. Oh my word, I'm so terrible. There were so many new people that came in. I'm sorry, guys. I was just all in the flow, I guess. I didn't want to stop. You know, uh, breaking down everything, because I definitely wanted to bring some clarity and understanding to tonight's conversation. But oh my goodness, food for the soul. Thank you for joining. And Emma Geminis. Oh my goodness, I think she's new for tonight. So thank you for popping in. Oh my God, of course, my friend Pej. How are you and your beautiful family? My little sis Erin, thank you for popping in. And Mexico music. Oh my goodness, it's been a while. I haven't seen you in a while. Oh my goodness. Thank you for popping in. You used to come on the podcast a lot when I used to come on. All of you guys, thank you for coming in tonight. I don't know if you guys are still here because I was going, but I appreciate you guys stopping in, giving me some love. I appreciate it. I hope that you heard something that can resonate with you. And yeah, I appreciate you guys. You guys, I always say you guys can be anywhere else. So to give me any moment of your time, I appreciate it. The most priceless things, your time and your energy. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. But yeah, so that's it for tonight, folks. That's what, the conversation that I had to present to you guys. Hopefully I made it very nice and clear about some of the things that you can use to kind of build those emotionally, to build your EQ. And I think it's important because it is something we always encounter in our relationships. And like I said, it's very easy to get emotionally compromised, when you are in relationships with people who mean a lot to you, who mean the world to you, who you love, who even if you want to just get to know them, it's when emotions are high, it's very easy for us to feel like we are overtaken by the emotions, or the emotions are making us, feel like we're going undertow, So I think this will always be a relevant conversation, and something that we have to apply all the way throughout. But I definitely wanted to highlight the trusting piece, hence why I put the quote out tonight, that to be able to be emotionally intelligent, you have to be able to trust, and I think sometimes due to the hurt that people have experienced and what people have gone through, we develop misunderstanding about what it truly means to trust. I will never advise someone to trust their, just their, emotions and just their feelings, or just their perspective. Now, I say pay attention to it. Don't disregard it, because you don't want to dismiss it, because that is also an action of distrust. You don't want to dismiss something that especially happens inside of you, within you. I say pay attention to it, accept that it's there, and then take that emotion and then scoot it on over and bring it to God and bring it to the truth. Align it. Align whatever you're feeling and whatever you think to be true, and present it, and see how it, how it lines up, how it weighs, is it still strong, because if it's something that is fleeting, something that is transient, something that is not anchor worthy, meaning like something that's not really, that's why I always, when I present you my quotes, I always say, I don't always say like, just, do you agree with that? I say, do you think it's truthful? Does it have, truth in it? Because I want to provide you with things that you can anchor yourself in, right? That are true anchors, that when those waves of life, and challenges come, you can remain anchored, So I think of it in that way, but definitely don't dismiss what's going on inside of you, because I think a lot of people do that, and you don't want to do that. That is the first, act of treason, to disregard and dismiss and not trust and not, you know, accept at least what is going on inside of you. Because even if it's an indicator, as long as you have the process of, right, taking that emotion, and like I said, with the love example, that you should filter your experiences through love, right? Filter your emotions, filter what you think your opinion is about what's going on, and filter it through the truth, the fundamental principles and truth of God, and see how it comes out on the other end. Is it still intact? Or did it just did the truth of God obliterate it? Like, oh yeah, no, that was too weak to stand on. let me go back in the line with the truth, and then let the truth navigate how I'm supposed to engage or respond to the situation, or respond to this person. So yeah, that's what I mean in that way. So I really wanted to highlight that tonight, because then it brings kind of what the proper process, or what it truly looks like, to trust, so that people would know that if you do it in that way, then you're actually better protected, than you thinking that trust is you building up a defensive wall based off of your calculations, your your calculations, and how you calculate how someone's supposed, or your expectations, etc. However, right, it's built to kind of protect yourself. I have this saying in my book that love can't protect you. You can't protect yourself better than love can. Of course, I always say God is love. So it's not this futile, transient emotion that just is fleeting and goes away. It's a lot more in depth than that. And it's laced with wisdom and clarity and truth. You can't have God's love absent from his truth, right? So once you understand that, then, oh man, you'll be able to walk through this world, having a certain amount of capacity to love, and a certain amount of capacity to trust, because the truth that it's grounded in and it's founded in. So thank you guys, as always, for coming to chat with me. Thank you for all the newcomers. I appreciate you guys. And some of the, not so newcomers, but I haven't seen you in a while, and so you came on tonight. I appreciate you. All right. So my new time, from, back when I was doing it, for the people who came, old faces that came in tonight, is that I come on Thursday evenings and Sunday evenings. Sorry, I was about to say Saturday. Thursday and Sunday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So feel free, go to my YouTube channel, Forever Friends Academy is the title. Definitely subscribe, like, comment, share, etc. All the things that will help circulate these conversations, and especially if you've heard something tonight that you're like, wow, you know what? I never thought about it in that way. Wow, you know what? She's really talking some truth. She is, spitting some facts. If you thought any of that, or even if you're like, I'm not too sure, but she is making me think, whatever your process was, I really would appreciate it if you would go to my channel, Forever Friends Academy, and it's free, to subscribe, because then it will help to spread the word. And if you feel like these are conversations that people need to have more of, and that would help people that please share. Tell her, I know this, this woman, she's a coach and she's a singer, etc. And she has these conversations that I think you would really like. So, you can share the video links, etc., and tell them. I appreciate it. All right. So like, comment, subscribe, etc. I am hopping off now. Plano, how are you, love? Thank you. I think you would have really enjoyed tonight's conversation. I appreciate you coming in at the end. I'll be back on. I will. I have some actually now friends that are clients, but also have become very good friends that are visiting me this Sunday. So I have to keep you guys kind of posted on if I'll be on this Sunday or not, because it depends on how long the visit goes. So I'll keep you guys in the loop. This season is winding down now with all the graduations and proms and et cetera, and all these things that I've by the grace of God, I've been invited to. I'm always in gratitude that somebody wants to invite me somewhere, request my presence, to celebrate with them. So I'm grateful for that. But it has caused some interruptions on, me being able to consistently be on here with you guys. So it seems like it's subsiding a little bit. So we'll see. All right. But I'll keep you guys in the loop. So have a good night, folks. Great conversation as usually, and as I always like to say, until next time, always remember to live, to love freely. Bye.